What's up everyone, and welcome back to HateWatchers. Today we're breaking down and reviewing the penultimate episode of Season 2 of The Wheel of Time, entitled Daes Dae'Mar. Let's get right into the breakdown. Spoilers ahead. We start off 20 years in the past, where a young lesbian Moraine is infatuated with her interracial lesbian relationship, although she doesn't trust her scissor sister enough to even close her eyes when they kiss. At the sight of these two, this older Aes Sedai faints, unable to cope with what this once nice town has become. Back in the present day, Moraine visits the Amyrlin Seat, who's upset that Moraine's requested this meeting when she was on her way to the Beyonce concert. Outside in the hall, Rand paces with boredom, begging Lan to just let him go insane with power and kill everyone, resetting the events of the show. Lan comments on Rand's sword form, which is probably supposed to make up for the lost scenes of these two training from the books. Nice try. Rand enters the principal mother's office where he's in trouble. Mat gets assaulted and wakes up with Lanfear. He rushes outside to jump off the balcony but discovers he's in the Middle East. Oh, the stuff of nightmares. Turns out this is the same far-off city where Wisdom and Prissy Pants are, who have already been here long enough to have ex-boyfriends they're hiding from. Meanwhile, Egwene and her owner are at puppy training school. Chipmunk Supreme has snuck off to Moraine's home to inquire about purchasing this portrait. Lan corners Moraine and asks if after their breakup she ever considered
killing myself. Not for 1 second.
That's what I thought.
The principal tells Rand that the toxic matriarchal rules demand that the Aes Sedai cage the toxic male and just use him for his seed of power. Then she says everything this show is about.
We would have been so much better off if you were a girl.
The leader of this puppy training school, Michael Vick, is turning this into a dogfighting ring. But Egwene has major gas, impressing even the ogre miles away. Ishamael is forcing Mat to watch him woodcarving while he talks about keeping his pencil sharp.
Is this a sex thing?
Out in the desert, Perrin, Hopper, and the moisture chick find another Aiel who takes them to another Aiel, but it's a trap as the two ginger supremacists turbo bully the blackish one. Mat chokes down the tea left by Ishamael, which was obviously spiked with roofies. Moraine comes into the principal's office to find that the principal has put Rand in detention, and then she throws him in a cell while she calls his mother. Moraine's nephew orders his mom to go get the meatloaf.
Hey, Mom! The meatloaf!
While we learn that he's a dark friend, and Chipmunk tells him to get rid of Moraine and his mom, but it turns out Mom wasn't getting the meatloaf. Ishamael is about to cash in on his roofie investment when Mat wakes up. Rand visits Lanfear in the dream world again, asking for help to get out of his cell, and she obliges back in the real world, absolutely torching the town. Lan then makes his daily visit to laugh at Loghain face to face, but today the false dragon tells him that Moraine is not cut off from the source, only tied off from it. Back in the desert, this Aiel is pretending that she's Zendaya and that this is Dune 2, and the show thinks that by making it so dark so as to be hardly visible, the audience might think it's Dune 2 2. Wisdom collars a bitch. Egg's owner is like, "Shake, Egwene, shake!" But Egg ends up being a bad girl when she tells her owner that she will kill her. Moraine's nephew, belly not full of meatloaf, comes to kill his mother for this betrayal, but she pulls the old switcheroo and locks him in a cell. Priyanka Patel comes in to bust out Rand, so Moraine can take Rand to the Middle Eastern city where he'll pronounce himself the Dragon Reborn. The Amyrlin Seat finally makes it to the Beyonce concert with her entourage, and everyone's going crazy. But it starts to rain, so she has to leave. Lan talks Rand into looking for Moraine's powers, and he sees that she has a knot in her weave, so all this time Moraine just needed a massage. Rand gives Moraine a magical jab, inoculating her from the taint that's plagued her, but failing to mention any possible side effects she may face. Moraine's back to her old ways, using her power to open the ways, but the Amyrlin Seat shows up, angry about the concert getting rained out, and she puts Rand back in detention. Then she mind rapes Moraine, compelling her to close the ways. When all of a sudden Lanfear strolls in and the Amyrlin Seat is like, "I got this." Then Lanfear laughs at her so hard she gets blown back on her ass. Lanfear, Rand, and Moraine head into the ways, but not before, despite just getting magically molested by her, Moraine remembers her nice interracial lesbian relationship with Suan, and the episode comes to an end. Well, we've reached that point in the video where we have to decide if this episode was a great watch or a hate watch. We're still giving this one the hate watch label, but we will say that this one was almost a debate watch, so the show is somehow still trending somewhat upward. At a minimum, on the positive side, we think that this was the best episode of the season so far in our book. Speaking of books, this show clearly has the story and characters from the books so far in the rear view that they're hardly visible at this point. This show is not the books, and it never will be the books, so you'll understand if we're not really diving into comparisons between this bastardized maladaptation, as one commenter put it, and the original story of the books. There just aren't many parallels at this point to discuss. Now, what almost made this episode a debate watch was the action and finally getting at least some payoff from these long, grueling storylines that dulled our brains all season long. Lanfear casually torching this town was badass, and finally seeing some conflict, tension, and action at the end of all these different storylines weaving together brought some satisfaction. And now that we're finally doing things, this hour-long episode feels much better paced than the rest of the season. No show should have the audience waiting until the second to the last episode to do this, but at least it's happening at all. But, just like last season, this episode brought back the filthy men message, more so than the rest of this season up to this point. And of course an emphasis on Moraine's baseless sexuality-bending relationship with Siuan. And on top of all that, there are still plenty of storylines that feel extraneous and drawn out at this late point in the season. So all of this keeps the episode from rising up into debate watch territory. But what did you think? Did this episode seem at least like a little bit of an improvement on things so far this season? Are you going to tune in to the season finale next week? Let us know in the comments below. And if you haven't already, remember to like the video if you liked it, and subscribe to HateWatchers to stay up to date on the Wheel of Time. Thank you for attending our puppy training dog fighting ring with us today, and we'll catch you on the next one.